Level 1. You are 29 years old. You just got a bonus larger than your father ever made in a year, and your first instinct, the one you are fighting right now, is to tell someone. It's a Friday evening in winter. You are at a bar 3 blocks from the office with the people you work with, and the bonus numbers landed this afternoon. The air in the room is electric with the thing no one is supposed to say out loud. Everyone wants to know what everyone else got. People are fishing, dropping hints, comparing in code, and you are sitting there with a number in your chest that is bigger than you expected. A number that could change the way every person at this table looks at you, and you can feel how badly a part of you wants to let it out. You do not. When the man next to you asks, half joking, whether you cleaned up, you smile and you say it was fine, nothing crazy, and you change the subject. You downplay. You deflect. You make your face do the small, disappointed thing that ends the conversation. And inside you are holding the real number like a stone in your hand, and you tell no one. You learned this from your father. He was not a wealthy man, but he had one rule about money that he repeated your whole childhood, usually quietly, usually after watching someone else make the opposite mistake. He said, never tell anyone what you have, because the moment they know, they stop seeing you and start seeing the number. You did not understand it as a boy. You are beginning to understand it tonight, with the bonus in your chest and the whole table fishing for it. This is the first thing nobody tells you about wealth secrecy. The first thing is that the instinct to share good financial news is natural, human, and almost always a mistake. Learning to override it is the very first skill of having money. When you tell someone you did well, you are not just sharing happiness. You are handing them information that changes the relationship, often in ways you cannot see and cannot take back. The friend who now knows recalculates what you can pick up at dinner. The relative who now knows files it away for the day they need a favor. The number, once spoken, does not stay a number. It becomes a lens that everyone who heard it looks at you through, and the discipline is to keep the lens out of their hands. You finish your drink. You let everyone believe the bonus was ordinary. You walk home with the real figure known only to you. The verb at level 1 is deflect. You deflect the question about your own money, downplaying what you have so that no one can use it to recalculate who you are. Deflecting at this level means overriding the very human urge to share and discovering that the first thing money asks of you is silence. Level 2. You are 34. The money is real now, and there is exactly one other person in the world who knows the true size of it. It's a Sunday morning at the kitchen table. You and your wife, Catherine, are doing the thing the two of you do a few times a year, which is deciding, together, what other people are allowed to believe about your life. Your net worth crossed $2 million this year, most of it from equity that finally turned into money, and the question is not how to spend it. The question is what to tell her sister, who asks pointed questions, and what to tell your parents, and what to say to the friends who have started to notice that something has changed. You decide, together, to contain it. Catherine's sister will be told that things are comfortable, which is true, and tells her nothing. Your parents will be kept at a careful distance from the real number, partly to spare them worry and partly because your own father taught you that even family is a circle with an edge. The friends will believe whatever the modest house and the ordinary cars suggest. You are not lying to any of them, exactly. You are managing the boundary of who knows. And you are learning that a married couple with money is a two-person conspiracy of silence. And that the marriage works better the more aligned the two of you are about where the edge of the circle sits. There is an intimacy to it that surprises you. The shared secret binds you and Catherine in a way few other things do. Because there is something you carry that no one else carries with you. But there is also a new loneliness at the edges, because you are building a life in which the truth about your own circumstances can be spoken aloud to exactly one person. And you feel the weight of every conversation in which you perform a smaller version of your life. This is the second thing nobody tells you about wealth secrecy. The second thing is that real secrecy requires an inner circle, and the most important boundary you draw is the line around the people who get the truth. For most people, that circle is exactly one person, a spouse, and the strength of the secrecy depends entirely on the two of you being perfectly aligned. The danger is rarely the enemy. The danger is the well-meaning relative, the old friend, the person you love who simply cannot hold a secret. And the discipline is to love them while keeping them outside the circle. The verb at level 2 is contain. You contain the truth inside your marriage, drawing the first and most important boundary around the one person who gets to know. Containing at this level means choosing your inner circle with care and learning that the strength of a secret depends entirely on how few people hold it. Level 3. You are 42. You have children now, and you have realized that the secret is only as safe as the youngest person who knows a piece of it. It's a Wednesday evening. Your daughter, who is 8 years old, mentioned at dinner that a friend at school said your family was rich and asked, with a child's directness, whether it was true. The table went quiet for half a second, and in that half second you understood that the discipline you spent your whole adult life building was now something you had to teach. Deliberately, to people who did not yet understand why it mattered. Your net worth is around $20 million. Your children have no idea, and keeping it that way has become one of the central projects of your life as a parent. So you train them, not harshly, and not with fear, but the way you would teach any important skill. You tell them that money is a private thing, like a diary, something the family does not discuss with outsiders, not because there is anything to be ashamed of, but because it is nobody else's business. You teach them to deflect the way you learn to deflect, to say we do okay, and change the subject. You watch your son, Michael, who is 10, absorb it faster than you expected. And you feel a complicated mix of pride and something quieter and sadder, because you are teaching a child to be guarded, and guardedness, once learned, does not easily come off. You think about your own brother, who went the other way, who let his children grow up knowing exactly how much there was. Those children are adults now, and they are not okay, and the money they always knew was coming hollowed out something in them before they ever built anything themselves. You do not want that for your children. So you teach them silence, and you tell yourself it is a gift, and most days you believe it. This is the third thing nobody tells you about wealth secrecy. The third thing is that secrecy has to be taught to the next generation, and the teaching is one of the most delicate things a wealthy parent ever does. Tell your children too much too early, and you risk raising people who never developed their own engine, who always knew the net was there, and so never learned to fly without it. Tell them too little, and you risk a child who feels lied to when the truth finally arrives. The discipline is to teach the silence before you reveal the reason for it. The verb at level 3 is train. You train your children into discretion, teaching the silence as a skill before they are old enough to understand the reason for it. Training at this level means shaping the next generation to be private by habit and accepting the quiet sadness of teaching someone you love to be guarded. Level 4. You are 50. The circle of people who touch your money has grown, and so you have begun, formally and in writing, to bind every one of them to silence. It's a Monday in a conference room, and you are reviewing a stack of confidentiality agreements with a lawyer. The household staff sign them. The advisors sign them. The people who manage the properties sign them. Anyone who comes close enough to see the true shape of your life signs a document promising, under real legal penalty, never to speak of what they see. Your net worth has crossed $100 million, and at this level secrecy stops being a matter of personal discretion and becomes a matter of contract, enforced not by trust but by law. The agreements are not the only instrument. When your son Michael, now grown, gets serious about someone, the conversation about a prenuptial agreement is not really about divorce. It is about information, about making sure a person marrying into the family understands, before they are inside the circle, that the circle has rules. You have learned that every new person attached to the family, by employment or by marriage, is a potential opening, and that love and loyalty, however real, are not legally enforceable, while a signed agreement is. It feels cold the first few times. Then it simply feels like maintenance. You think sometimes about how far you have come from the young man at the bar who just changed the subject. That man kept a secret with a smile. You now keep it with a legal department. The instinct is the same one your father gave you. Never let them see the number, but the scale has changed everything, and what was a personal habit is now an institution with paperwork, designed to make the silence hold even among people who have every incentive to break it. This is the fourth thing nobody tells you about wealth secrecy. The fourth thing is that beyond a certain point, silence cannot run on trust alone, and the wealthy convert it into something enforceable. Trust is wonderful and trust is fragile, and a single resentful former employee or bitter former spouse can undo decades of discretion in an afternoon. So you bind the people around the money with contracts, with confidentiality clauses that turn a moral expectation into a legal one. It is not that you have stopped believing in loyalty. It is that loyalty is best when it is also a signed document. The verb at level 4 is bind. You bind everyone who touches your money to silence with contracts, converting a moral expectation into a legal one. Binding at this level means accepting that trust alone cannot hold a large fortune, and that loyalty is safest when it is also a signed agreement. Level 5. You are 58. The silence is no longer something you enforce. It has become something the family simply does, the way a family has a religion or an accent. It's Thanksgiving, and there are 18 people around the table, 3 generations of them. You notice, the way you notice the temperature of a room you have lived in for decades, that no one ever talks about the money. Not the children, not the grown children, not their spouses. There are topics that are simply never raised, a whole region of the family's life that everyone navigates around without anyone ever having been told to. Your net worth is somewhere past $400 million, and the remarkable thing about the dinner is how completely that fact is present and unspoken, like a piece of furniture so familiar no one sees it anymore. This is the level where secrecy becomes culture. It is no longer a rule you impose, because it has been absorbed, by repetition and example, into the unwritten code of how your family operates. The grandchildren are learning it now without a single formal lesson, simply by watching that certain things are not discussed, that a particular smoothness descends when an outsider asks a pointed question. You taught your children deliberately. Your children are teaching their children automatically, and that is the difference between a habit and a culture. There is a beauty to it and a sadness to it, and at this dinner you feel both. The beauty is the unity. The sadness visits you when you watch your son Michael, grown and guarded, deflect a question from his own wife with the same smooth half-answer you taught him when he was 10. You wonder, not for the first time, whether you have built a family that protects itself so well that its members can no longer be fully open even with each other. You do not have an answer. You carve the turkey. This is the 5th thing nobody tells you about wealth secrecy. The 5th thing is that the strongest secrecy is not enforced. It is cultural, absorbed so deeply that no one in the family experiences it as a rule at all. A contract can be broken. A culture is much harder to break, because the people inside it do not feel constrained, they feel normal, and they pass the silence to their children not as an instruction but as an instinct. This is the point at which a wealthy family stops needing to teach discretion and simply produces discreet people. The verb at level 5 is codify. You codify the silence into the culture of the family, until it is absorbed as instinct rather than imposed as a rule. Codifying at this level means producing discreet people rather than teaching discretion and building the most durable secrecy there is, the kind no one inside can quite see. Level 6. You are 66. The fortune has grown so large and so complex that no single member of the family, including some of the family, is permitted to see all of it. It's a Tuesday at the family office, the organization that now runs the money, and you are in a meeting about how much each of your children and grandchildren should be told about the structures that will one day be theirs. The answer, arrived at carefully and with professional advice, is not all of it. Your net worth has passed $2 billion, spread across trusts and entities and holdings that even you do not hold entirely in your head. And the operating principle of the whole apparatus has become compartmentalization. Each person knows the piece they need to know. Almost no one sees the whole. Your son Michael, now in his 40s, is part of the business and still does not know the full picture, and this has become a quiet wound between you. He has earned trust, he has kept the silence his entire life, and he has begun to understand that keeping the silence and being shown the secret are not the same thing. He asked you, recently and carefully, why he is still on what amounts to a need-to-know basis with his own inheritance. And you gave him an answer about prudence and timing that you both knew was only part of the truth. The harder reality is that information is power, and that even within a family, perhaps especially within a family, power is not handed over all at once. This is the level where secrecy turns inward and becomes structural, where the family itself is organized around the controlled flow of information. The trusts have confidentiality built into them. The next generation is briefed in fragments. The whole machine is designed so that no single person, and no single moment of anger or weakness or indiscretion can ever expose the whole. You have built something that protects itself even from the people it is meant to serve. This is the sixth thing nobody tells you about wealth secrecy. The sixth thing is that at the largest scale, secrecy is enforced inside the family as rigorously as outside it, and the heirs themselves are managed on a need-to-know basis. It feels almost unnatural when you first encounter it, the idea of keeping secrets from your own children about money that is, in a sense, already theirs. But the families that endure have learned that undivided knowledge in too many hands is a risk, and that the safest thing is often to reveal the picture slowly, in pieces, across years and generations. The cost is intimacy. The benefit is survival. The verb at level 6 is compartmentalize. You compartmentalize the knowledge so that even the heirs see only their piece, and no single person holds the whole. Compartmentalizing at this level means organizing the family itself around controlled information, trading intimacy for survival, and choosing, as the lasting families do, survival. Level 7. You are 74. The silence you spend a lifetime building is now bigger than you are, and it binds you as tightly as it binds anyone. It's a quiet afternoon, and you are watching your son Michael do something that stops your breath for a moment. He is sitting with his own child, a grandchild of yours, having a version of the conversation you had with him when he was 10, the conversation your father had with you at a bar, telling the next small person in the line that money is private, that the family does not discuss these things, that there is a circle and an edge. The discipline has now passed through 4 generations, and watching it pass, you understand something you did not expect. You did not create a secret that the family keeps. You created a family that the secret keeps. Your net worth is past $10 billion, and you cannot speak freely about your own life to almost anyone alive. Not to old friends, who are outside the circle. Not fully to your children, who are managed on a need-to-know basis you yourself designed. Not to your grandchildren, who are only now being initiated. The code of silence you built to protect the family has closed around you too. And there are days when the man who controls one of the great quiet fortunes of the country realizes he is the most constrained person he knows. Unable to be truly open with a single human being, because openness is the one thing the entire structure was built to prevent. This is the 7th thing nobody tells you about wealth secrecy. The 7th thing is that at the very top, the silence stops being something you keep and becomes something that keeps you, a discipline so total that it binds its own author. You set out, decades ago, to control who knew the number, and you succeeded so completely that the control now controls you. You are not free to confess the ordinary truth of your own circumstances to a friend over dinner, because there are no longer friends fully inside the circle. Only family bound by the same code and professionals bound by the same contracts. The fortune is safe. The family is unified, and you sit at the center of it, the keeper and the kept. Having traded, without quite noticing the moment, the simple human freedom of being fully known. There is a real inheritance here, and you understand at last that it was never only the money. The money will be divided, taxed, grown, and spent. The thing you are truly passing down, the thing that will outlast every dollar, is the silence itself. The closed hand, the instinct to deflect that your father gave you, and you gave your son, and your son is giving his child this very afternoon. That is the dynasty, not the fortune, the discipline that guards it. The verb at level 7 is enforce. The silence is now enforced by the family itself, on every member, including you, and it will go on enforcing itself long after you are gone. Enforcing at this level means having built something self-sustaining, a discipline that no longer needs you, and discovering, in the quiet at the center of it, that the secret you kept so well became the wall between you and everyone you love. The payoff. So let's pull this together. At level 1, you deflect. The urge to share good financial news is natural and almost always a mistake. At level 2, you contain. Secrecy needs an inner circle, and who you tell matters more than what you have. At level 3, you train. The silence has to be taught to the next generation, carefully, before they understand why. At level 4, you bind. Beyond a point, silence cannot run on trust, so you convert it into something enforceable. At level 5, you codify. The strongest secrecy is cultural, absorbed so deeply that no one inside sees it as a rule. At level 6, you compartmentalize. At scale, even the heirs are managed on a need-to-know basis, and the cost is intimacy. At level 7, you enforce. The silence becomes self-sustaining, binds its own author, and turns out to be the real inheritance. Here is the thing nobody on YouTube will tell you about wealth secrecy. Wealth secrecy is not lying, and it is not shame. It is a discipline of control, learned and taught like a language, and at its best it is a genuine form of protection for your money, your relationships, and your children. The number, once spoken, changes how every person who hears it sees you, and the wealthy learn early that the most valuable thing they can do with a figure is keep it to themselves. The skill is real and the reasons are sound, and almost everyone who has money practices some version of it, whether they call it discretion or privacy, or simply minding their own business. But there is a cost that compounds as the fortune grows, and almost no one warns you about it. The same silence that protects the money also builds walls, and the walls go up not only between the family and the world, but between the members of the family themselves. The circle of people who know the truth shrinks as the fortune grows, until at the very top it includes almost no one, and the person at the center, the one who controls the most, is often the one who can be honest with the fewest. You spend a lifetime learning to keep the secret, and one day you realize the secret has been keeping you, standing quietly between you and the simple freedom of being known by the people you love. If you are watching this with your first real money in your pocket, feeling the urge to tell someone, understand that learning to deflect is a genuine skill worth having, and that discretion will protect you in ways you cannot yet see. Just take care that the discipline stays a tool and does not harden into a wall, because there is a difference between privacy and isolation, and it is easy to cross from one into the other without noticing. If you are watching this from deep inside a family built on silence, the message is gentler still. The silence is real protection, and it has likely kept your family safe and together. Just make sure that somewhere inside the circle, with at least one person, you are still allowed to simply be known. Somewhere right now, a young person who just got their first real bonus is sitting in a loud bar, holding a number in their chest, feeling the urge to lean over and tell the person beside them exactly how well they just did. They do not yet know that the urge is the thing to master, that the number, once spoken, stops being a number and becomes a lens. And that the quiet voice of a parent who once said never tell them what you have was handing over the first rule of a discipline that can protect a family for 100 years. And, if it is not watched, can quietly wall that family off from each other. They think a secret is a small thing you keep. They are about to learn that a secret, kept long enough and well enough, becomes something that keeps you. The ladder has 7 levels. The first one and the last one are the same act, a held tongue and a changed subject, separated only by the size of what is being protected and the number of people sworn to protect it. If this video changed how you think about money, hit subscribe. We have more videos like this on the channel, each one breaking down a different path that wealth takes through families, through silence, and through the quiet rules the rich never say out loud. See you in the next one.